All right. So, hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Yazamedical Podcast. So, this episode is going to be a bit different. This one is going to be in English. It's not going to be recorded in our physical studio, but here via Riverside software. So, today we're going to be discussing one of the biggest problems in the world of academia and universities. As you guys, I would guess most of you know, most of the knowledge, discoveries, ideas, IP, patents that come out of university usually stay in university, meaning they almost never make the way to the market, to the industry, and almost never become products or something that people can actually consume. One of the organizations that helps to bridge this gap is Nucleate program, and we're going to be discussing this organization thoroughly in this episode. So with me today are Shruti, the co-president of the program globally, and Daniel, who is the coordinator of the program here in Israel. And didn't mention, Shruti, you're based in Singapore. So say hi, guys.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Thank you for having us today. And it's always lovely to talk about Nucleate. So really appreciate the chance. And yeah, a little bit about me. I am
Yeah.
based in Singapore. I've
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
recently completed my PhD from the National University of Singapore, where I work on spatial transcriptomics. And I was initially leading the path programming of Nucleate, which is like the education initiative. And then in December last year, had a chance to become the co-president for the organization. Daniel?
Yeah. So I'm Daniel Somekh. I'm a PhD scientist at Ben Gurion University. It's in the south part of Israel, where I'm focusing on understanding how microbes interact with each other and how we can engineer them. So the big headline of the lab is microbial ecology, microbiome. So this is the topics that I'm focusing on my day to day, and at the night, what I'm doing is co-managing director Nucleate Israel. I'm not managing it alone. I'm managing it alongside Shelly and Shalhevet, who are also students here in Israel. And I'm happy to be in the podcast and tell you a little bit about what we are doing.
Perfect, guys. So, of course, I'm happy to have you on. I think this episode is going to be very interesting and insightful. So, in this episode, as I mentioned before, we're going to discuss the gap between science and commercialization. We're going to be talking about your organization, like who is it for, what does it actually do, how people can get accepted, what they should expect, and etc. We're gonna be talking about the profile of good entrepreneurs that can come out of your program, and in general, we're gonna talk about like real stories from the field, people who succeeded thanks to your program, the differences between the different countries, like the activity of your program in different countries in the world, and a look at the future, especially in the evolving world of AI. So, without further ado, short jingle, and we're starting. All right, guys. So to be honest, I wanted you to introduce yourself in this part, but you already did it, which is super great. So let's move on to my next question, and we can start this time from Daniel. If you had to explain for someone who is not aware of your program at all, what does your program do? How would you describe it?
So I will describe Nucleate as a community first, because what we do is we gather students and graduate students to actually be in one room or one community. They are actually focusing on how they can take their step forward in leading the next biotech companies, how they can be integrated into the biotech industry, but not specifically only do science. They can also lead venture capital. They can also be part of business developments of different companies. So I will say that Nucleate in general is a community. And this is the first thing. The idea of the community
Great.
is to create the next generation of biotech leaders.
And how about you, Shruti? Do you have a one-liner description of your program?
Yeah, absolutely. Like as Daniel mentioned, the whole mission of Nucleate is to democratize access to life sciences and biotech innovation. The fact that anybody anywhere can see their ideas come to fruition. And we do that through empowering the next generation of biotech leaders.
So of course, we'll discuss this topic more thoroughly later on. But I would like to start from the problem. Like as I mentioned before, looking at the world of university and academia, as I mentioned, there is a huge gap between science and commercialization, right? Like most of the knowledge discoveries, ideas, that usually come out of university almost never make the way to the market. They almost never become products. For me, I can think of like several reasons for that thing or phenomenon. Let's say that could be like lack of business knowledge, or it could be like lack of funding or lack of guidance, or many other reasons. What do you guys think are the real reasons that it's the situation also today in 2026?
Shruti, I will give to you to answer this from the global perspective, and then I will summarize it for the Israeli ecosystem.
Yeah, perfect. So I think the barriers would be at every stage of when you're thinking of spinning off a company. So the first is at your project state itself, right? How do you start thinking of your PhD project, for instance, as a viable product that the market needs? So that would mean that you need education on how do you do a market landscape research? How do you find out where your project is placed and where it can go? So that's initial like education that seems to be missing. I mean, in a global perspective, also for students like me to start thinking about how I can commercialize my research, right? Then once you have an idea, that's when you really need resources. You need access to maybe an accelerator. You need access to mentors to kind of guide you through that process, to be able to give you tangible resources to be able to make your first pitch. Then the last stage, I would say, before you finally become like a company would be, how do you pitch? How do you meet the right VCs? How do you formulate your business plan? What is your end goal? Because right now, funding is tight, IPOs are narrow. So the thing is, people might be looking for alternative ways like partnerships. What is the right deal for your company and for your idea? So I would break it down into three bottlenecks, and each bottleneck requires a very different solution, from all the way from education to access to resources to ultimately forming the right team and having the right strategy.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree with Shruti about this. And I will take it to our own ecosystem, because I think Shruti actually summarized the whole problem that we have around the world. And of course, this is the same thing that we face in Israel, is that first you need to build knowledge about what's going on in the ecosystem. The second thing is how to do stuff, how to do market analysis, how to form a company, how to fit the right technology to the right market. And then the third part is actually do. So in each of those vectors, both in Nucleate and in Nucleate Israel, we do different activities to expand the knowledge of students, to explain them how to do things, and then by the Activator program, actually make them do. Take the technology after they work 4 years on the bench or on the computer, depending on which topic you are, and actually build something from this proof of concept that you just did in the lab.
Interesting. So if I have to summarize, I would say that first, there's a lack of knowledge. And then, as you guys said, there's lack of sometimes of resources. And in the third part, I would say that sometimes you have to be connected with people. If you're a PhD student, maybe there is no chance that you would meet the right people. So please, let's move on from the gap to one of the solution. One of the solution is actually your program, guys, Nucleate program. And we can start this time with Shruti. Shruti, can you please walk us through the process of someone who joins your program? Let's say someone who starts his master's and then he joins your program, and he's going to be staying in your program for like 3 years. Can you please walk us through the process he's going through?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think we can even start before that. We can start all the way from an undergraduate student, right? You just have an idea. You want to know more about business. We have a program for you called the Dojo, where we have a group of really motivated undergraduate students running this program to kind of give you the fundamentals of biotech innovation. So after you are an undergrad, you've thought about your idea, you know what you want to do in your master's, you go for your master's, then you join our leadership and our community of Nucleate. So a little bit of history here. So Nucleate started off first at from the Harvard Business Club. So it started off with a small group of like 3 or 4 people. And now it's grown to over 41 chapters across the world. So we have more than 800 student leaderships and a huge volunteer body of like 2,000 people with alumni also included into this whole ecosystem that we've built of students, by the students, for the students, of the students, right? For biotech innovation. So within Nucleate, again, we have different, I would say, programs. So the first one is, suppose you don't want to do innovation, but you're just interested in business development or venture capital or just the ecosystem as a whole. So we have our path programs, which is professional advancement and training, where the idea is you come in as a master's or a PhD student and say you are aiming for a career in business development. We will give you access to those resources. You can listen to webinars by leading leaders, key opinion leaders in the field. You can do a program with us. For instance, we have our flagship BD 101 program, which is run in partnership with Genentech. So Genentech professionals actually come and teach you the fundamentals of business development. And finally, you can go and have a site visit at Genentech HQ. We run this now for venture capital and consulting. So basically, any career path that you're thinking of, we can help you with your professional advancement and also give you resources to kind of bring you up to speed on what the ecosystem is looking for, what the industry is actually looking for. Now, if you're not interested in that, but you're actually interested in innovation and you have an idea, we have our flagship program, which is the Activator. So I'm sure Daniel can talk a lot about the Activator in Israel, but in general, it's a program where you apply as a team, and then ultimately we take you through the entire process like an accelerator to kind of teach you company formation and all the basics. So I'm going to leave it up to Daniel to talk more about the Activator program. But these are our three verticals. So my philosophy is wherever you are, we will meet you where you are, and there's a program for you in Nucleate. And we want to make sure that at the end of the day, you see your idea and you see your dream career come to fruition through our community and through our programming.
Yeah, I would say that you have solution for like tailored solution for people like in different with different perspectives or different the one different things from their entrepreneurial journey, which is great. Daniel, I would love to ask you. We talked before about like kind of three verticals that your program has to offer, right? We talked and keep me honest in this specific field. You mentioned that you help to bring people together. I mean, you bring together scientists, researchers, and their masters and PhD who like usually don't have a vast knowledge in the world of business with people from the business field, with entrepreneurs. That's first vertical. And then you said you have some business development sessions, and you also mentioned the Activator. Can you please talk more thoroughly about the different stages that you guys have, and maybe specifically in Israel?
You mean specifically about the Activator or the specific vectors that we are operating in?
All of the vectors.
Cool. So as Shruti mentioned, I will start with the history of Nucleate Israel. So 4 years ago, Nucleate was founded by Liam Shitayat with the aim of actually bringing Nucleate to Israel, Nucleate community, the global community. And then the first thing that we did, and this is connect to that, the first vector of knowledge, is to create different chapters or different branches across different universities inside Israel. So in each university, we have small community, not small, we have more than 100 students, 200 students in each community that are attending our event. So we have in 5 different universities across Israel, we have leadership that are operating and sustain and create a community inside. So we have in the Hebrew University, Tel Aviv, Bar Ilan, Technion, and Be'er Sheva. So in those branches, what we do is that we bring the Israeli ecosystem, biotech ecosystem, companies, VCs, etc., big companies or startup companies to tell the students about what they're doing and what is the mindset that they have, how to move from academia to industry for those companies that actually took proof of concept from the research that they did in the lab, how to take it into a company. So this is, for example, one topic that we do in our events. The second one can be roundtables that students have the chance to actually speak with C-level or leaders from different vector in the Israeli ecosystem, and they can ask and first, how do I apply to a biotech job? What does it mean? Which roles can I do? And then later on, how do I make the next step with the idea that I have? So this is the first one of bringing knowledge. We do events in each branch of Nucleate Israel in the different universities, and we give knowledge to the students and we introduce them to the biotech ecosystem. The second vector of the how is that we integrate into HQ programs. As Shruti mentioned, BD one-on-one with Genentech, VC one-on-one with Pillar.
Just to clarify, BD is business development, right?
Yes. So business development in biotech company is different than business development in high-tech company. So in Israel, we are really good at business development in cyber, but not specifically in the biotech. So this is where we integrate with HQ, and we use the programs that HQ is doing in order to introduce students to how to do different stuff. And I think here it's important to mention that this is very, very important for us in Nucleate Israel, because we don't want to be just a branch of Nucleate that operate inside of Israel. We want to be a branch of Nucleate that actually part of Nucleate HQ, part of Nucleate Global, take part of this massive, and I'm saying it again, massive community of students. So this is the second part. For the third part, which is the Activator, we bring students that has an idea. It can be also researcher or early entrepreneurs, and we help them navigate the landscape of how I taking a great technology and integrate it into a market. The main gap that you have in academia is that you have the technology before you have the market. Most of the time, you build a good technology, but you don't know still to which market you can integrate it. And this is a phase where you have a death valley. A lot of companies, a lot of technologies that are spin out of academia are dying in this phase because they don't know how to navigate this space. How do I pitch to investors? How do I find the right market? Which next experiments I need to do in order to FDA to approve my technology? And which kind of experiments big pharma companies wants to see before they take my technology. This are things that we don't know when we are in academia. Where we are in academia, we do basic science. We want to explore. We want to understand. We want to expand the knowledge of humanity. And it's important as it is. So in the Activator program, this is what we do. The idea also in the Activator program is that we'll not teach you. We move from the how to the do. So there we actually tell the students, the entrepreneurs, they are not students anymore, to build, to create a market analysis, to build your thesis about the business model that you want to do, to design your next experiments. So once they do it, they have the chance to actually present it and get feedback. But they don't get feedback from us. They get feedback from experts in the field, different CEOs, CTOs, people that are actually part of VC, analysts or partners. And they tell them, listen, it will not work. I saw this technology 1,000 times. You need to change your idea. And this is actually the first time that they are, מתחככים. I don't know how to say it in English. They are integrate themselves. Friction. They have the first friction with the industry that tells them how to do it, and then they do it. So we've just finished in the Israeli ecosystem our first cohort, and we are really happy. But I will leave the floor for questions or other discussion, and we can discuss about our first cohort later on.
Yeah, so just a first question about what you just mentioned. I guess the students are not obligated to participate in all parts or verticals of your program, right? I mean, if I just want the first part and the second part, like I don't have any obligation to participate in the Activator, for example. If I don't have an idea, if I don't want to take it to the last level, it's optional.
Yeah, you don't have to do the path as a graduate, like move from knowledge to how to do. You can just say, I want just to do. I just want to know how. Yeah.
As we call it, it's really an adventure, right? As is life. So you can pick and choose what you want to do.
All right. So that sounds very interesting and useful. So let's move on to the next part of this episode. Let's talk about the people who participate in your program. Is your program selective, or does it accept anybody who applies to your program? What are the characteristics that you're looking for when accepting someone for your program in whatever country it is? We can start with Shruti.
Sure. Okay, so this is a very complicated question, right? Because I think each program requires a different set of characteristics and a different mindset. So if I break it into two, we first say path programming, which is education. If I'm a person who is really interested in a career-oriented, like top 1% career performer that I want to be, what are the characteristics? Again, is just a sheer drive and a very good understanding of what this career means to you. So for our BD 101, for instance, that HQ runs, we get around 500 to 600 applications every cycle. And we have to filter it down to 30 people to make a very meaningful cohort where you're broken into maybe 6 teams of 5, and you work together along with Genentech to kind of come up with a solution. So it's a very closed doors cohort so that you can have almost one-on-one mentorship with professionals, which is why we have to be pretty selective on how we are choosing a fit. So it all comes through on your passion, because I always believe that even in an application firm, passion always comes through. It's very easy to identify why you want this career and what speaks to you about the program. But ultimately, we're looking for people who are self-starters. You have to make the most of this opportunity. So we're looking for people who can really go the extra mile and make that connection when they join these programs. For the Activator cohort, again, we source a lot of applications, and ultimately we have semi-finalists and finalists, and we also have a global virtual activator program where it's run virtually across the globe. So from any country, you can kind of apply to be part of the GVA, or the Global Virtual Activator. Again, here we're looking for teams that are very cohesive and have an idea, but are very bought into that idea. They know exactly what they want out of this program. So when you have such a clear vision, it again comes through when you apply. And again, here the most well-performing teams are those who work very well with their mentor, because you're matched with a mentor here. Sorry.
Shruti, I just wanted to ask, just want to add to clarify. For people who want to join in the part of the BD, the business development sessions in the Activator, you have to think of their idea in advance, or sometimes you can help them thinking of their idea throughout the participation in your program.
So BD 101 is not related to your company at all. So you don't need an idea. You just want to learn about business development, come to BD 101. You don't have an idea yet, but you know you want to be a founder. There are programs like Genesis or Catalyze that kind of take you through that process of, say, I have a rough idea of what field I want to do something in, but I don't really have a concrete plan yet. We do have programs for that kind of help you flesh it out. The Activator is for people who already have a pretty concrete idea. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking proof of concept or anything yet, but it's definitely a well-defined idea. If I ask you to give me an elevator pitch, you can about your ideas. I would say those are the 3 phases, but definitely we are pretty selective of your final cohort, but we do encourage everyone to apply, because even if one program is not a fit, we can redirect you to something else that might be a better fit, and you can reapply to our individual cohorts.
So you're saying that the more you go upstream in the stages of your program, then you become more selective.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. And Daniel, how about you guys? How about the Israel branch?
Same. The community, the knowledge is always open, and this is what we are. This is what our ideal is, that the knowledge is for everyone, and everyone should know what's going on. Then, as Shruti mentioned, how this is something that we are actually source or decide who should be part of it. It's not a matter of how good you are, it's a matter of how mature you are in the process. And then the Activator, this is where the part that we are more selective, and I will explain why. Because there, we cannot help you through the Activator curriculum to take an idea and that is raw. Let's say that I have an idea of how to cure cancer, the easiest example that we have. So there, I cannot help you if you don't have a proof of concept. If you didn't do any experiment that show that there is you have the validity to actually do the stuff that you are claiming to do. This is because of the way that we build the Activator, which is getting to know experts and understand how they see, how the industry see your technology. So there, the criteria that we have is that first you will have a proof of concept, that we can see some experiments, we can see some data that you actually do the things that you say that you are able to do, and then that you can actually have an access to this technology in order to mature it. So let's say that I finish my PhD, but I don't have any path to continue my experiments. So this is something that will just be in the air, right? You cannot continue do another experiment in order to validate your claims. This is why we look at the applicants, we source technology. We go to researchers, to students that are working on things. We try to understand if there is the possibility they are a good fit. And this is important. It's not only that they are a good fit for the Activator program in Israel, it's also that we are a good fit for them. We can say to different people, different students, listen, we are too early for you. You are more mature than what do you think. Go ahead and go to different accelerators. The Activator, the core idea is to go into the very, very risky phases, which is the early stages.
I understand that there must be a compatibility from both sides, which is important. And that makes sense, of course. All right. So, so far we talked mainly theory. Let's move to the practical side of your program. Let's talk about real people and success stories. You guys think of people who participated in your program and significantly succeeded? That could be like people who open up companies, people who raised a significant amount of money, maybe people who made an exit or something like this. Can you have such examples?
I think, Daniel, you should take this first with the Israel community, and then I can give some examples from the global.
Sounds good. Yeah, I can think of, and I want to share with you again that we just finished our first Activator program. So we did our demo day a month ago, and it was amazing. And we had 6 teams total, and all of the teams were great, but two teams that actually moved to the next step, and actually the Activator program helped them a lot, is one, Collagen Bio. This company run by 2, not students, but 2 entrepreneurs. They are doing engineered collagen mimicking peptide. It means that they take collagen, which we have in our skin, and it's a really important texture that we have in our body, and they create a synthetic collagen peptide in order to enhance wound healing. So this is a technology that came from Ben Gurion University, but by Mor Passi, and Chagit Alon joined Mor Passi, and they run the company together. They're now working on doing an experiment to prove as a proof of concept, next proof of concept for their technology, and to be able to show that it's actually enhanced wound healing. The second one is Virobic, that run by Diana and Eyal Zoller. There, it's a really cool story because during the program, they actually got a space. So this is a technology that came from the Weizmann Institute. What they're doing, they take oncolytic viruses, they coat it with a unique coating that can target this virus into a specific targets or specific sites in the body, and then do a specific activity. So you can actually think of it as you have a vector that you can direct to go to specific places in your body, and then some kind of change or tweak this place. So Eyal and Diana joined the program after they have the technology from the Weizmann Institute. And during the program, they got a space in a shared space that called Collab Square that we have here in Israel. And they all actually joined another competition which called Collar Competition. And they won a safe seed of $2,100. So kudos to them. So this is 2 successes that we have in our current Activator cohort. So both of those technologies actually spin out of academia, join the Activator program, tackle the hardest questions, and they'll be able to continue working on them.
I think it's great and impressive, especially due to the fact that, as you mentioned, it's the first cohort. I guess Shruti, in other countries, there are more cohorts, and we're going to be hearing about more, profound and developed ideas. But let's hear from you.
No, but
Can you think of any other?
Yeah, but first of all, hats off to the first cohort, because I think now is when you'll see the ripple effect, right? Because this cohort will eventually become mentors for the next cohort.
Yeah.
And it's a very nice community that forms organically also when everyone shares the same struggles of trying to create a company in today's landscape. So it's really nice to hear that there's so many success stories already. So from the global perspective, we do have a lot of history. So if you look at maybe the non-startup side, you just look at the plain career performers. We have leaders now who have gone on to have places in Lilly, Alnylam, any real top pharma that you can think of. People who have completed our programs have kind of gone over and started jobs there. So for instance, our previous co-president, actually Sammy, is at Lilly, and she landed that program of the rotational Lilly cohort through one of our grand challenges. So she took part in the Lilly Grand Challenge and then went on to be part of the rotational program. So did Alicia. But I think more than maybe the line on your resume that says, hey, I did BD 101, I did VC 101. What these programs really teach you is the soft skills and also kind of how to manage people. So I think that's one of her major takeaways, right? Like she has that experience on what industry exactly wants to look at when you think of a person who's applying for a job, and she's able to match them there and get it. And that was through some of the programming that we run. Now, when we look at the Activator side of things, there are a lot of examples. But if you look at more mature startups, we have companies like Concerto or Manifold Bio who've raised rounds and have really matured in their idea and all started as Activator alumni. And then more recently also, we have examples such as Andon Bio, where they've just finished our Activator cohort of 2026 and now just trying to raise their first round. In Singapore also, we see a lot of such startup activity. Now, Singapore is very interesting in that it does not have an activator program per se, but because of the way the country is, it's very easy to get to source innovation for other programming through the startup culture that's here. So you have one nationally run incubator that kind of ties into Nucleate. And through that as well, we see a lot of people come back and tell us that it's the access that you give us to the global community that really helps at the end of the day. Right? Because right now you have a question, you have 3,000 people. One of them will definitely have the answer or have faced something similar. And that access is really unique in what Nucleate provides. So we do have our annual summit that's coming up on August 16th. So that kind of highlights all the success stories and has a lot of key opinion leaders also coming and giving their perspective. So definitely stay tuned there. So once you see those clips, you can really see a montage of the impact that Nucleate's had over the years.
All right. So from what you said, it sounds that there are lots of success stories and real companies that open up thanks to your program, which I think is critical, important. All right, so let's move on to the next part. In this part, I would like to discuss with you guys about what are the differences between, you kind of, Daniel, mentioned before that each branch, each country works separately in a way, has its own, mindset and the way it works. Can you please tell us a bit about the weaknesses and the strengths you see in the activity of your program in Israel? And then, Shruti, later on, you please relate and say how does it sound compared to other countries? Maybe some countries do perform better in some aspects than Israel, and in some aspects they perform, not good enough. So, Daniel,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I think for us, the main thing is that knowledge is something that we are good at. We know how to bring value to the students and expose them to different ideas. For the how, this is something that we are willing to expand the amount of how, because we see that a lot of students don't know or they are not familiar, as opposed, for example, the US, that the biotech scene, the biotech sector is really, really crowded and students speak about it fluently. They know what is a VC in biotech. They know what is a business development in biotech. So the how, this is something that we are willing to expand and strengthen in Nucleate Israel. So it means two things. First, to open programs like this here in Israel. And second, to expose more students to the activities that Nucleate HQ do. So for example, Genentech Business Development one-on-one, etc. For the Activator, I think this is also emphasize the strength or the weaknesses that we have in the Israeli ecosystem. So I will start with the strength. The strength of the Israeli ecosystem is that we have a lot of innovation and we love innovation. We're the startup nation, before the but, I will just mention that we have a lot of technologies in academia. So in the biotech ecosystem or in, let's say, academia sector, we have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of patents. For example, in 2021, Israel was the 8th or the 7th country, which is not the US, to license patents inside of the US. So it means that you have a lot of technologies, you have a lot of raw material to work with inside of the Israeli ecosystem. But the problem is that we still don't do it. We don't see a lot of companies. We don't see that the biotech ecosystem is exploding inside of Israel. So this is where I see the strength, that we have a lot of ideas, we have a lot of raw material to work with. But the weaknesses is that we don't do something with it, or we don't know how to do it. And this boils down to capital and talent. So capital, it means that you have people or players that can invest in the companies that are formed in Israel, and talent that will actually help you to structure the company to the right direction. This is very, very important because if you don't raise enough money, you will not be able to achieve the experiments in order to prove. If you don't have the talent, you don't know how to speak with pharma companies or with other players and VCs. So these two things is something that we want to implement into the Activator. So when we go to the do, we want to bring more capital to Israel. So it means that we expose the Israeli science, the raw material that we have, to all of Nucleate chapters. So we also speak with VCs from the US, for mentors and experts from the US to bring them to Israel as a talent to educate the talent that we have here to how to do stuff. So this is one thing regarding the capital and the talent, that we want to bring the talent that is really, really good in building and doing, and bring some capital that will be able to invest in those companies. We have it in Israel. It's not that we don't have VCs and capital that are investing in biotech, but we want more. Like we have in the cyber sector, that we have thousands, maybe not thousands, maybe I'm over exaggerated, but we have a lot of VCs and different entities and players that are investing. At that point, we are teaching the world how to build companies in the cybersecurity. So this is the vision that we want to have for Israel in general in the biotech. And for that, we need the capital and the talent. So for the Activator program, this is two things that we want to improve.
Shruti, what was your take on this concept? How do you perceive the activity here in Israel compared to other countries? Are you aware of anything interesting that is going on in other countries that doesn't happen here in Israel? What's your take on that thing?
This is very interesting. I might take a little bit of a tangent and approach this a little more philosophically, right? Because I think every chapter in its own right of all the 41 chapters are incredibly successful. And I think the only reason that they are is because they have understood what works for their ecosystem and what doesn't. And that's something we emphasize on the moment leaders come to us and say, hey, I want to start a chapter in this region. We spend a lot of time, almost a year or two, making sure that we are developing the right solution for the right ecosystem. So do I think that it's a one size fit all? The answer is no. For instance, a country like India has one chapter, but a huge expanse to kind of cover in terms of people and just ideas, right? So in that case, and running an activator might not really be the most feasible idea, because you would rather plug into the central government that kind of runs this entire infrastructure. But you can be based out of hubs across each institute and give knowledge and make them plugged into the existing infrastructure. So that's kind of the part that India follows. Singapore, for instance, again, exact opposite problem. Very small country. So if you have more than one incubator running, again, you don't have the space to do that. And it comes down to, again, what is the bottleneck here? The bottleneck is not ideas, but it's rather how do you spin out of the country. And in that case, again, their entire programming is focused on how do you bring ideas from Singapore to the rest of the world. And that's, again, very similar to some of the points that Daniel brought up about Israel also, right? Israel is really good at that, and Singapore is really trying to figure that out. But it's so unique to kind of see where each challenges lie. And then you have a place like Boston or Bay Area that's just filled with biotech companies and biotech ecosystems. So their tapping in again becomes far easier, and they see a lot of impact in just being able to tie together different stakeholders pretty easily. So for them, again, the Activator is their flagship because there's no unifying program there for biotech leaders, but there are a lot of programs for seasoned veterans and people like that. So each place has its own interesting set of dynamics. And I think every leader in Nucleate has done a phenomenal job in being able to exactly identify what's available and what's available to them and what their vision is for their ecosystem, and they're able to bridge that through specific programming. Another example would be Europe, right? Europe has this amazing system where each chapter kind of communicates with each other, and there's a nice flow of ideas. So our global virtual activator program, for instance, has so many innovations just sourced across EU, and EU behaves as a sort of unit. UK, for instance, now has a partnership with ARIA, one of the government agencies specifically looking for research and innovation. So through ARIA, they're able to run quite a few programs and tap into innovation across the UK. So yeah, I think my entire speech is to kind of just say that if you're able to identify the one need that your ecosystem has, and you're able to say it in one line, and you know exactly what program fills that need, any chapter does phenomenally well. You're not trying to recreate what's already there, but you're trying to fill a legitimate need for students in that ecosystem.
Yeah, so I think it sounds very interesting. So you were saying that each country works kind of separately depending on the ecosystem at the same specific country. And then you have also your events and your communication. You guys are in touch with each other. You share ideas, you share things that you might be doing better. And I guess it's a very good perspective to look at things. So guys, being mindful of time, we're going to be moving to the next part. Let's talk about the future of your program. As I guess everybody knows, we're in 2026 in an evolving world of AI, and the world changes kind of on a daily basis. How do you guys deal with that issue in your programs? Also, the future of biotech and health tech also changes due to the AI. Are you guys trying to get prepared to these changes? You guys try to do something differently? What's your take on the changes of the AI brings with it? Ready? You can start.
Sure. I think as someone in AI, I can definitely say that it's already here, and the wave has already passed. We're right in the middle to the end of it. So it's definitely on our radar. But I think in general, what we as Nucleate kind of pride ourselves on is the fact that we're able to identify trends in advance. So if we do see something that is interesting, we make it a point to prioritize it and have programming that kind of addresses it. I think this is possible because we have a grassroots level effect, right? We start from the grassroots and we're able to identify trends, and then we're able to create programming that makes sense for that trend. Another example would be aging. Aging now is really booming. So you have challenges like the Eli Lilly challenge, where there's a lot of money coming in to create solutions for aging. And can we now help put people with the ideas in front of the right people so that they can get connections made? So yeah, I would just say, taking one step back, I think just trend searching and understanding what the next trend is extremely important. And that's something that we prioritize.
Daniel?
So, yeah. So for us, first with AI, we embrace and love the AI. I think in biotech, AI is already booming. So you see a lot of companies that are trying to use artificial intelligence in order to choose better patients for clinical trials, to use AI in order to design new molecules, etc. So for this part, we are less I don't think you need to worry. You just need to understand and read the room, for example, in order to understand what you should enhance next. And as I've mentioned, for us in Israel, the main idea is to focus on the two topics that I've just mentioned before, which is talent, capital, and actually helping in this valley of death. So I don't think it's a matter of what is the next trend, is actually how we can create Israel as a great hub for biotech, because we have a lot of raw materials. So how we can take this raw material into something that is mature, ready, and good. So for us, it's not actually capturing the next trend, although it's very, very important, as more to how we build fundamentally, how we build better biotech companies from the great science that we have here in Israel.
All right. So let's talk about the future of your program. You mentioned before that there's a cool event that is kind of ahead, right? It's going to be soon. What else do you guys have for the students or the people that participate in your program in the next future?
Yeah. So we have two main things that we are working on. So first of all, now it's the summer break in Israel in all of our universities. So this is why we don't have any events inside of the branches. We also want to rest sometime. As I assume that we've mentioned, we are all volunteers, so we don't get paid by what we're doing inside of Nucleate Israel. So I don't get paid. All of the students that are part of Nucleate do not get paid. So we also, during the summer break, take a break. We have two main things that we are working on. Actually, three, I will mention it, and I will give you some kind of a hint. So the first one is that we are opening the application season for the next Activator cohort 2027. So this is something that you should look at. And if you want to join, both as a contributor, we didn't mention it. We just said that we're searching for technologies, but also if you, let's say Aviv, you have specific strength and you say, I want to join a company, you can join as a contributor to the Activator, say, hey, I'm Aviv, I'm good in this, and that. I want to join to this, and that technology companies. And then we do team matching events. So also if you are just a student, and you are not just a student, you are the next generation of biotech leader, you should join as a contributor to the Activator, and then maybe find a team and start a startup. Although this is the minority of technologies that we have, most of them are coming with the team. This is a possibility that we have. So first, we are opening our Activator 2027 application season. So you are more than welcome to join. The second one is that we are opening or organizing a conference alongside Reifman University and the Skogen Institute for Synthetic Biology about synthetic biology. What is the next thing in synthetic biology, SynBio? For those of you that do not know, synthetic biology means that how I can take living materials and engineer it, synthesize it to do stuff that we want. So if you engineer specific organism, for example, as collagen bio, to produce collagen, you actually create synthetic biology. So we bring actually researchers and entrepreneurs, people that led companies from abroad to Israel to speak about synthetic biology and how to bridge the gap between academia and industry. So if you are willing to join, you're more than welcome. We will share the link in the notes of the podcast. And the third thing, and we didn't publish it yet, is, as I've mentioned, in Nucleate, we have the different branches, right? And what we love to do the most as students is to compete, right? You want to compete with other students and show that your university or your faculty is the best. So we're creating a bio battle between different Nucleate Israeli chapters, Nucleate Israeli branches across universities. So it will be some kind of a hackathon with different players, different companies that will give challenges to the students. They will need to solve them. But the first layer of this competition will be each branch, each university compete with the other branch of the other university. And then we have the finals, which is which university has the best idea in this specific challenge. So this is something that we didn't publish yet. You should not tell it to anyone, although I said it in the podcast. But yeah, so this is something to expect from us. So you're more than welcome to join the Activator. The application season is open. Join our SynBio conference, and the third, the bio battle that we will publish in a few months.
Love the CTA, the call to action that you just implemented. All right, so Shruti, how about you guys? Do you have something in a more global perspectives for the upcoming events? Something interesting that people might want to know about your activity in the next future?
I just want to say the bio battle sounds insanely cool. But at a global level, definitely keep your eyes open for our applications like Daniel mentioned for the Activator. Our BD 101 applications will also start soon. We currently have applications open for the Sigma Lead Nucleate Fellowship for led by Sigma. That is very cool, where you can really go through the fundamentals of sales and how to be a leader and all of that. We will have our applications for our grand challenges also opening up soon. But right now, definitely keep your eyes peeled on the summit and all the news that we have there and all the lineup of speakers who are coming and talking at our Nucleate Summit.
So guys, we came to the end of this episode. I want to thank you again for joining me today for this special. Yeah, thanks, really.
Thank you for hosting us, Aviv.
Yeah, I think it's an important episode to record for people to be more aware of your program, what it has to offer. I think it's I know that lots of students would love to be more involved in the world of like entrepreneurship and business, and they don't have the resources or the knowledge or the gate in this world. And I think that this episode might, in a way, help them to get involved with it. So again, thank you. And for the people who are gonna be watching this episode, please do not forget to hit the subscribe button, to follow the podcast in all platforms, to hit the like buttons, to comment, to share this
follow this
episode with people who might be interested. It's very important for this podcast to reach out to new audiences. So with you were Daniel and Shruti. I was Aviv, and I will see you in the next episode.